Arguably the most talked about movie on the planet isn't the Marvel movie that came out this past weekend. In fact, it hasn't even come out this year. It came out about 8 months ago and has found itself, unfortunately, weirdly timely.
Right,
and of course, we're talking about the Oscar-winning film Conclave.
Conclave. And you were talking about this on Good Day this morning because there's a connection between the movie and what is happening right now in Vatican City that is a little bit too real for some people right now. Run us through what's going on.
So Conclave is based on a 2016 novel. The movie itself follows the plot line pretty closely. It follows very similar to what's happening in the world right now, the passing of a pope, and sort of the behind the scenes, for lack of a better word, drama that is happening as the Cardinals are gathered together in the Vatican and choosing the next pope. Now, obviously, there are a lot of aspects of the film that you can look at and go, well, that's Hollywood. But there are a lot of technical details about the voting process that a lot of people have basically said, yeah, that's right.
True to life.
Exactly
True to
right.
life.
There was an article that came out on Politico last night that basically said because so many Cardinals, this is their first conclave and they don't really know what to expect. A lot of them are popping on the movie to kind of get an idea of just to know what it is they're walking into. Now, we had friend of Good Day Chicago, Father Gilger, on the show a little bit earlier. In addition to being a priest, he's also a sociology professor at Loyola. And he said he and some fellow priests were there when the movie came out. They all gathered together to go see it. And he said that there's also a lot more accuracy in a movie like this than you might think. Check it out.
Most of the plot line I really love. I have a couple criticisms. You know, the one hard one for me as a priest myself was the moment when Ray Fiennes was asked to kind of break the seal of the confession to be able to, you know, get some information about one of the other cardinals. Hard one for me, and made me kind of, you know, sit back in my chair as I'm watching. No, we will not do this. But then at the same time, the movie carries on, and there's really some beautiful things that are happening at the same time.
You know, he talked a lot about the voting process that is represented in the film, and he said that is basically exactly what they do. Now, again, you go to a lot of, there's a lot of, cardinals in the film who are angling to be the Pope, which I don't believe you're supposed to do. So, there are a lot of aspects in the film where you could look at it and go, I'm not so sure. But the fact that, for the most part, the church is going, that's basically it. Oh in the grand scheme of things, there have been a lot of movies made, where at least religion was some sort of a theme. I'll never forget. Speaking of Rome, we traveled to Rome for years back. There was a movie that came out called Angels and Demons, which was one of the Da Vinci Code movies.
Right. The Tom Hanks
Exactly
series.
right.
Yes, I remember.
So we were there to interview Tom and the rest of the cast, and we went on a tour of so many of the things that were represented in Dan Brown's novel. And, there's a scene and, this statue points to that and that statue points to this. And it's all a clue to a big, but, there's a scene in the movie where Tom Hanks has to jump into a statue and he swims to the bottom to try to find some clue of what he's looking for. And they took us in Rome, they took us over in the fountain, and the fountain's about that deep,
There's no swimming.
So there are movies like that that very much uses religion and the city of Rome and the Vatican as a jumping off point for fiction. And then there are movies like Conclave, which it seems like fiction, or it seems like nonfiction, is the foundation of what the movie is.
The studio, I don't mean to make light of a solemn situation. However, I'm sure the studio's enjoying a little bit of, little thrust back into the spotlight. A good deal of time after it was actually released.
Exactly right.
Very fascinating stuff, Jake. All right.